right, welcome back to The Big Picture. 9:54 your Monday morning. Joining us right now is the Executive Director of Local Matters, Yolanda Owens. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
Was Friday an emotional day for you guys?
It was. It really was.
Yeah.
It was a way to connect with community in a really beautiful way. We had been doing that specific event for, I think, about 4 years now in Whitehall. And so it was kind of the end of the way we know it right now, right? And so we're still working on placing our programs with other nonprofit organizations to be able to continue the work in other ways. So while it might not exist in that exact same format, in that exact same way, we hope to see it continue in other ways.
So for people watching who may not be familiar with Local Matters, which I think a lot of people are, you guys started all the way back in 1998 and you were offering fresh veggies, fruits to underserved communities.
Correct. So the idea started back in 98 with our co-founder, Noreen Warnock, but we were incorporated in 2008. So about 10 years later, after she did a lot of groundwork with our other co-founder, Michael Jones, and that's when they actually incorporated and created Local Matters as it exists now. And so, yeah, we started off doing food education work initially, moved into food access because we can't teach people about food when they don't have access to it, right?
Sure.
So equity through that space of food access, doing advocacy work, starting things like the local food action plan, and working with the city and the county in that. And then that moved into the food rescue work, which is our last program that we added back in 2024.
So when did you realize, we're going to have to cease these operations? When did that happen?
So I came into this role as executive director only last year. So I've only been in this role for about 13 months. And I came in and it was a really tough time last year with a lot of the funding cuts, especially in the federal space. And one of the things that was really big for me when I came into the role was looking at how we were funded. And that was a thing that we were trying to work through this whole time that I was here, of shifting what that looked like. Thank goodness we were not an organization that typically got a lot of federal funds, but that still affected us in ways where the folks who were getting federal funds were now coming into the spaces where we typically got our funding. So getting funding from the city, from the county, from private foundations, from corporate foundations. And so those areas became more and more crowded with folks who were lacking funding from that federal space. And so it just made things really difficult across the board. I mean, we aren't the only ones who are suffering or struggling in this way. And that's kind of what the messaging is what does this look like when this is happening across the board? We were just kind of one of the first larger organizations or long-standing organizations where this has happened to, but unfortunately it's going on across our whole entire community.
And would you say this is happening at a time when, need is high?
Oh, absolutely. The need is extremely high. I mean, we all know when we go to the gas station and we see what those gas prices and what that looks like, and what we have to recognize is that affects everything across the board. So that's affecting, transportation and getting to and from, but our food and how our food gets to our plate, right? Because most of our food, I mean, we do have an amazing agricultural sector here in the state of Ohio, right? It's our number one industry, but a lot of our food is coming from all of these different other places because that's the system we live in now, right? And so those things are increasing in price too, and that's hitting people both sides.
And I think going back to your original purpose, the healthy food is really what sticks with me. Getting access to that for many communities is what's tough.
No, it is. It's definitely it's hugely tough because those are the foods that we're seeing that are going to be more expensive. That fresh food, because that's being transported constantly, and those prices are rising just the same. We're seeing that. We're seeing difficulty in the market around like jobs, and so more folks are needing things like SNAP benefits or just a little bit to be able to get them to the next steps to getting the pantry, getting affordable fresh foods. And so it's really important, and the need is definitely increasing. So it's really difficult to see the cuts in these spaces within the nonprofit sector, as well as seeing it personally with Local Matters.
So what's next?
So I think our biggest thing right now is what I'm really trying to do is care for not only the mission of the organization, but the individuals that work there as well. And so our biggest thing is trying to figure out how do we take our programs and find mission-aligned organizations who are willing to take on this work, right? Who are saying this is a program that is already packaged. It has an expert that goes along with this program. How do we take this on and be able to continue this work, right? So finding those other mission-aligned organizations who may not have been impacted in the same way that we have been, and being able to keep that work going on. And then with us doing that, I will figure out something, because that was one of the things. I love food, and that's kind of my jam, and people always have to eat. So I was like, I will figure something out, right?
And
Absolutely.
It definitely made an impact, that's for sure,
it really did.
across the community. And, doing that work, working to find, where things are going to align, I'm sure is not easy either. But
it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. But I will say, since we made our announcement a little over a week ago, we have had absolutely amazing, organizations who have come out and said, hey, we're interested in taking on this aspect of the work or that aspect of the work. And so trying to figure out like what makes the most sense, where it aligns best.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yolanda, unfortunately, we are out of time today. But thank you so much for coming on
so much
and
for having
wishing
me.
you the best of luck
Thank
in the
you.
future.